Welcome to the Fallen State. I'm Jesse Lee Peterson. There's a lot of talk about police brutality. We hear it a lot in the liberal media, and we're going to have a discussion about that today. I have with me Michael A. Wood, Jr., a retired Baltimore police officer and United States Marine Corps veteran. But I appreciate you being here. You were on my radio show, and it was very exciting. You remember that?
Yeah, of course.
Did you have fun?
Yeah,
on the radio show?
Every interview was fun.
You refused to take a picture with me at the end. You were so ticked off.
I wouldn't say ticked off. It's
We're angry.
No. You're projecting.
Let me ask. Did you have fun?
Did you just say all the money only went to Obama?
Barack Obama divided the races so that he could do. Listen.
Who's Big Mama?
Michelle, you know,
you
his
are
wife.
So unbelievably disrespectful as a human being. Like, I don't know how you look at yourself in the
mirror.
So
you blame white people for the problem of black folks, and I'm disrespectful?
No, I don't blame white people.
You got
Again,
it all
we said
wrong.
Institutions.
You got it all wrong.
It's not.
But let me ask.
No, I did not have fun because it's not humorous.
You didn't have fun?
This. No, it's not humorous.
I had a great time. I appreciate you coming on.
It's sad.
You did not have fun?
No.
Oh, man.
I feel sorry.
Like, you do?
If you really believe this.
You feel sorry for this poor black man?
I do.
As you can see, ex-Baltimore cop Michael Woods don't know if he enjoys doing interviews or not. But one thing's for sure, Jesse Lee Peterson sure had his number in this debate. I usually don't like to watch Jesse Lee Peterson debate because people like Tariq Nasheed make him look foolish because he's so nice. But in this debate, he really had Michael Woods' number. The debate is about 40 minutes long, but it's worth it. Trust me, stick around because you've never seen such a gross display of white guilt and virtue signaling in your whole life. And I mean, it's really that bad. Hang with me and we'll do some refuting along the way, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun.
Did you have fun?
Yeah.
On the radio show?
Every interview was fun.
You refused to take a picture with me at the end. You were so ticked off.
I wouldn't say ticked off. It's
We're angry.
No. You're projecting. When you are in a position of leading other people, that there are some positions that you cannot associate with. And some of your positions I find to be those type of positions that are talking down to oppressed communities, that are blaming victims instead of the people actually responsible. So sure, my emotions get ahead of me sometimes when I see people punching down. You
are a retired police officer. As a cop, did you have those same emotions that would come out at times?
I would imagine that type of empathy played a part in me being in policing and wanting to defend people that weren't quite as strong.
But people who get angry like that, and especially in high-profile, dangerous positions such as a cop is in, that's not a good position to be in when you're an angry person. Do you agree to that?
I don't know. I mean, anger is an emotion, so it depends how you use it. It's what your actions are that you should be judged upon, not about some arbitrary ruling of an internal feeling that is projected.
But anger is an abnormal emotion. It's not normal to have anger.
That's a claim you're making.
Especially for men.
Does everybody know what anger is? It's completely not abnormal, so I don't know what that means. That would be like saying love is abnormal. It's an emotion, so it's a matter of how you manage that emotion. There's no such thing as a bad emotion.
But you can't manage anger. Anger controls you.
I just did.
No one can manage anger.
That is a really weird statement. I don't know how to go past that. Of course you can manage anger.
No.
All right, well, we're going to have to move on because I'm angry with you and I'm not beating you, so I guess it's managed.
Do you agree with me that it's abnormal for a man to have anger?
No.
It's not an abnormal position for a man, or state of being for a man to have anger?
No.
Really? What is a man?
A human being. That is, I don't know, define man yourself. I think a man is someone who doesn't punch down and who defends people that are less privileged than they are and takes responsibility and accountability for their actions instead of pointing on others. That's what I would say.
Damn! Michael Woods don't think you're a man unless you're a social justice warrior. Did you see all that virtue there? Hey, don't worry, the virtue signaling gets even worse.
When you say who doesn't punch down, what do you mean?
Punching down. Whenever you blame someone that has less resources, less assets, less availability in life to access life's rewards. Those people you don't punch down on. So you don't make a joke about somebody who is LGBT in a community where they're willing to kill somebody that's LGBT. You don't punch down. That's disrespectful and it's childish, and that's not a man.
Remember that definition of punching down in a man, because in just a minute, Woods is going to tell Peterson that he's punching down, therefore he's not a man.
And so is there love and anger?
Yeah, absolutely there can be. So, for instance, my emotional break in policing and really breaking out of the culture was watching the murder of Tamir Rice. So that anger that I felt watching a young man be murdered on the streets of our country by people we have paid taxes for that denied any responsibility for that murder, it angered me so much that it ignited my empathy to go out there and put my entire body at risk and everything about me at risk to be judged, because I could not allow for that anger to be held anymore for anyone else.
Didn't I tell you the virtue signaling gets even worse?
And who was Tamir Rice again for the folks?
Tamir Rice is a 12-year-old child from Cleveland who was playing with a BB gun in a park.
Actually, Tamir Rice was not in the park playing with a gun. He was running around the park pointing the BB gun at people in the park, and that's the reason they called the cops and the reason the cops showed up in the first place.
Ended up putting that BB gun in his pocket. Police responded and applied the worst possible tactics and training with an officer that should have never been hired, and that individual murdered Tamir Rice and prevented any medical assistance for him, and it's on camera. And that is what our society and policing has allowed. So anyone that defends that and allows that to occur, that is not a man, and that is somewhere where my anger will be directed in a controlled and positive manner to enforce it.
There's some more virtue signaling for you, and here comes the "you're not a man," Jesse.
Had Tamir Rice kept the little tab on the BB gun,
that's punching down. That's punching down, and I will not tolerate it.
Jesse, you're not a man, and I will not tolerate it.
That it was a BB gun.
No.
Would he be dead today?
Okay. So this is a child. Situation? This is a child right here. Tamir Rice was being a man, and you were being a child, blaming a 12-year-old for the improper handling of a BB gun? That's what you're doing? You're blaming a 12-year-old child, and you call yourself a man? Out of here.
Are you able to answer that question?
What was the question?
If Tamir Rice had not taken off the little tab on the BB gun to indicate that it was a BB gun and not a real gun, so when he pulled it out...
How do you know Tamir Rice took off that tab?
When the folks who saw him in the park with the gun...
How do you know Tamir Rice took off that tab?
Let me just finish the question.
No, you started with the premise.
They would have known that it was a BB gun. Would he be alive today?
No.
Today, a Cuyahoga County grand jury completed its thorough investigation of the fatal shooting of the 12-year-old Tamir Rice on December 22nd, 2014 at the Codell Recreation Center. Based on the evidence they heard and the law as it applies to police use of deadly force, the grand jury declined to bring criminal charges against Cleveland police officers Timothy Lohman and Frank Garbeck. That was also my recommendation and that of our office after reviewing the investigation and the law. A short time ago, we informed Tamir's mother of the grand jury's decision. It was a tough conversation. We again expressed the condolences of our office, the sheriff's detectives, and everyone else who has worked so diligently on this case, and our sincere wish that these events on that traumatic day at the Codell Rec Center had unfolded differently. She was broken up, and it's very hard. We explained to her that this was a difficult decision also, but that to charge police, even a situation what was as undeniably tragic as the death of her son, the state must be able to show that the officers acted outside the constitutional boundaries set forth by the Supreme Court of these United States. Simply put, given this perfect storm of human error, mistakes, and miscommunications by all involved that day, the evidence did not indicate criminal conduct by police. On close examination, especially of what is perhaps the most critical piece of evidence, a very recent enhancement of the surveillance video by an expert laboratory often relied upon by the FBI, It is now indisputable that Tamir was drawing his gun from his waist as the police slid toward him and Officer Lohman exited the car. At the point where they suddenly came together, both Tamir and a rookie officer were no doubt frightened. If we put ourselves in the victim's shoes, as prosecutors and detectives try to do, it is likely that Tamir, whose size made him look much older and who had been warned that his pellet gun might get him into trouble that day, either intended to hand it over to the officers or show them it wasn't a real gun. But there was no way for the officers to know that because they saw the events rapidly unfolding in front of them from a very different perspective. Just minutes before, they had been assigned in order to respond to a Code 1 report of a, quote, guy, end quote, pointing a gun at people outside the rec center. That guy, they had been told, was dressed exactly as Tamir was. As they raced that mile towards the rec center from their other assignment, the police were prepared to face a possible active shooter in a neighborhood with a history of violence. There are, in fact, memorials to 2 slain Cleveland police officers in that very park, a short distance away, and both had been shot to death nearby in the line of duty. Police are trained that it only takes a third of a second or less to draw and fire a weapon upon them, and therefore they must react quickly to any threat. Officer Lohman had just seen Tamir put an object into his waist as they pulled up, and he stood up in a gazebo and started walking away. A moment later, as the car slid toward him, Tamir drew the replica gun from his waist and the officer fired. You'll be able to see an actual Colt 1911 model pistol and a identical replica gun that was used that day. They are very difficult to tell apart, even by people who are very familiar with guns, even when you stand and stare at it. A moment later, as the car slid toward him, Tamir drew the replica gun from his waist and the officer fired. Believing he was about to be shot was a mistaken, yet reasonable belief, given the high-stress circumstances and his police training. He had reason to fear for his life. It would be unresponsible and unreasonable if the law required a police officer to wait and see if the gun was real.
But Michael Woods is so virtuous that he would have risked getting shot waiting to find out whether if that gun was real or not.
We have no evidence of that. You have no reason to make that claim. Philando Castile did everything possible.
No worries, I will.
Fuck!
He just shot his arm off. We got pulled over on Larpener.
I told him not to reach for it. I told him to get his hand out.
And you still can be killed by the police doing everything you do. And you sit there and you made a claim that Tamir Rice, you made a claim that a 12-year-old boy who was murdered by taxpayer dollars had some responsibility to take off and actually took it off. That's your claim. He took it off. You have no evidence for that whatsoever.
I didn't make a claim. The question was if he or whomever took it off, the little thing that indicated
the claim implies that it's there. How is that not a claim?
Would he have been alive today? And you're not answering that question for some strange reason.
I can't, because you're making a claim that the orange tip was on the gun, or that that gun even comes with an orange tip. You have no idea.
It's kind of funny that Woods is telling Peterson that he has no idea whether the BB gun come with an orange tip on it or not. But really, that doesn't matter. The BB guns, the replicas, do not come with orange tip guns. So how are you supposed to know the difference between a real gun and a fake gun when somebody is drawing it on you?
Are you implying that black people are victims?
No, I'm implying that Tamir Rice was a victim that you are punching down upon.
What type of victim was he?
A victim of police brutality from state-sanctioned murder and injustice from the entire criminal justice system and every process from a society with attitudes like this that allow it to happen.
Jesse, did you hear that? The whole system is a white supremacist system, and you're to blame. You're more to blame than Tamir Rice himself. You're the one that enabled this.
When you were a cop, why did you become a cop?
I mean, nobody becomes anything for any one reason. You have a plethora of things that come in, and shape who you are from your environment and things that occur to you through life and the way you're raised. So part of it was watching cops and wanting to chase drug dealers and have an adrenaline thrill, and part of it was wanting to help people. But the vast majority for me was I wanted to have fun.
Well, that explains a lot. You were more interested in having fun than serving and protecting.
Why did you give it up?
I didn't give it up. I was
Are
injured.
you still a cop?
I was injured.
Meaning what?
Because it's a retirement that the police department forces upon you when you're injured, so it's not a choice to make. It's like you should know that before we start this interview.
And why should I know that?
Because it's background for research to know the subject matter that you're dealing with. Otherwise, you're coming from a position of ignorance, and when you pretend to know that which you do not know, it's indistinguishable from a lie.
Hey, asshole, Jesse's not pretending to know anything. That's why I asked the question.
You're also a liberal, right?
No, I shed those labels of what liberals are. So as much criticism as you would possibly have for liberals painting Trump in some bullcrap story that they fabricated about his ties to Russia, I'm with you. I mean, that's bullcrap. There's a lot of things. Whether it's right or left, it's these paradigms that are tricking us. There's this whole broad other array of ideas and possibilities that we eliminate because we say liberal, we say conservative, and these things just aren't realities of our existence. For instance, my policing program is, sure, it's completely socially very liberal, but its fiscal policy is as hardline conservative policy as you can possibly get. I want small government, local control, and I want you to have a say in what your police department does.
The problem with you and what you have is, and people like you.
I have a problem?
Yes.
What is that?
It's that when it comes to black people, you guys tend to have a false sense of love for black folks.
Who is you people, though? I just told you I wasn't a liberal, and you're saying me as a liberal does this. I just told you I'm not a liberal, and I gave you an example of how everything I fight for, half of it is rooted in conservative mentality.
Yeah, dude, but you just admitted that the other half of it was all motivated by liberalism. And then there was that virtue signaling of, I'm not this, and I'm not that.
Part of your mission is to help poor people or to help black people?
Yeah, I'd like to follow Jesus' model in that.
Oh, God. The virtue signaling is fixing to get deep, y'all. Real deep. Make sure you don't drown.
You believe in Jesus?
I believe in that being somebody that is benevolent in the example that Jesus led is absolutely something admirable to look up towards.
So do you believe in Jesus?
As a character, I believe in him no more than Harry Potter.
I'm not understanding. Do you believe in Jesus? You mentioned Jesus. Do you believe in Jesus?
As equally as Harry Potter.
That is
a direct comparison.
What does that mean?
It's a fictional character.
And that's how you see Jesus?
Yeah, sure. But you can get a lot of value out of fictional characters.
And what type of values?
You think that what we just said isn't a good value? To help the poor, that's not a good value? Because Jesus told me to go help the poor, and I'm following that, and I think that's a good value. And
do you consider the blacks to be poor?
I mean, I don't even know what you mean by blacks. What are you saying by blacks? You say that term when you're the darkest skinned one sitting here, and you're asking me about blacks?
But you seem to be
you're asking me about black people. What do you define as black?
You seem to be into the black thing. I asked were you trying to
what is the black thing? Define
poor.
your terms. What is the black?
Do you see black Americans as being
What
poor?
is black? Define your term.
I don't. That's a ridiculous question. You don't. Me. You see me? I'm black.
Okay, so you're black.
Would you consider that as being black?
I don't know. You define your terms.
What's wrong
I haven't
with you
been able
that
to
you
nail
can't
down your
tell?
terms yet, because I define black as that which stands against white supremacy.
Damn it, Jesse, you just thought you was black, but you're not really black. Now let this effeminate cuck tell you what it means to be black.
Because that's what we're actually talking about. So when these races were fabricated, we had Italians and the Irish were considered black, because it was that which stood against the white supremacy that was established at that time. So blackness as a concept is that which is fighting. So whether you're black, brown, red, or whatever, you're still in that category conceptually.
That's amazing. You fight against whites with black people because you see them as white supremacists. Am I hearing you right? I understand. What is white supremacist?
Well, so in our country right now, what we're operating is a white version of supremacy. So it's just elite supremacy. At times, during the Ottoman Empire, we had brown supremacy. Right now, because of colonization and the system that was established from slavery, we are operating in a system of white supremacy.
So what does that look like in America today? Because I can't recognize it. How do I recognize that? white supremacists against black folks?
The housing bubble is the most recent one. So while everything was crafted towards 70% of the income that was lost from the housing bubble, black families lost 70% of their income on average, white families under 10%.
Yeah, and blacks lost more money whenever the housing bubble crashed because the government forced Fannie Mae and the banks and everybody to give blacks more loans, even though they were more high-risk applicants and they couldn't afford the houses that they were getting into. So eventually, so many black people defaulted that it caused the whole housing bubble to burst and caused our whole economy to go into a deep recession.
Redlining in school districts, environmental poisoning. So the reason black communities have more violent crime is because they were intentionally redlined by government laws and leasing regulations to put them in certain communities that already had lead poisoning. And no, you can breathe like you want to interrupt me, but the reason you want to do that is because these facts really f up with your paradigm.
No, I want to interrupt you because what you're saying is ridiculous.
Well, it's scientific. You can look it up. I mean, you got a computer in your hand, just like typing Google.
I will find it on the computer, but just more mess that liberals made up, lies.
Why would you fight against children being lead poisoning and you think I should honor your position?
Are you saying blacks lost their homes?
Again, please define black.
White supremacists? Are you saying that?
No, they lost their home because what we have done is we have institutionalized white supremacy in our system, such as the correctional system, such as the banking system. So for
instance, that's not why they lost their home, Michael. They lost their homes because they couldn't afford to pay for them and never should have gotten those loans.
Do you enjoy interrupting me? Does it make you feel good?
But I can't let you just go on and on because you're talking a bunch of stuff that's totally wrong. And
I'm talking about things that you've never researched and you think are wrong because Fox News told you that.
But you only believe it because someone else told you. You read some stat that was made up by some
I'm actually educated, so
liberal.
I do the work myself. I go back.
You say you're educated?
Liberal. Stop saying liberal. What are you if you keep hanging on liberal, it's like your weak link. It's like your tick. You're like facts liberal, facts liberal, facts liberal. Like you can't help it. I don't understand.
Are you a liberal?
No,
I mean, not a liberal.
Oh, here we go again.
Are you a white
liberal.
Are you a white supremacist?
No.
Why is it that you're not a white supremacist? You're a white man. And you're a white cop.
No,
what separates you from the rest of the white cops?
I just explained to you. This white supremacy is a system of institutions and policies and legislation. I'm not blaming individuals. So whenever you focus on individuals, it's just going to go right in one ear out the other because it's not about individuals. It's about the systems which guide our country. Lead poisoning is the #1 correlate to violent crime. So you put a particular people in a particular area, 22 years later, when they're violent, you go, oh my God, look, it's because they're black. No, it's not. It's because we have systems of institutions who put those people in those places for specific reasons, knowing you were going to poison them, so they can continue to fuel things like you punching down on victims of this system so that they can all allow us to fight one another when we're really on the same team.
Who controls the system?
Nobody. It's ambiguous.
So the system controls itself?
Right now, obviously. Right. So right now, Princeton study that everybody can look up.
That's amazing, Mark.
I know it's amazing, and I know it's blowing your mind, and so you're about to say liberal.
It's amazing that you believe, being a young man, I understand it. You say you're educated, right? So that explains
I still haven't gotten you to define black yet, so I'm waiting for your education to help me.
I'm black. My skin color is black.
Okay, so that doesn't make any sense to me when you just say you're black because of your skin. So why are we having a conversation about blackness? There are black people in the audience. Talk to them.
Let me ask you this. Why are blacks in prison? Why are they committing a crime? If they didn't commit the crimes, would they be in jail?
Of course.
How's that?
It's demonstrably provable. The Innocence Project, anyone want to look them up, they've already gotten hundreds of people off of death row by using DNA to prove that they weren't even anywhere near that area.
You can find exceptions to anything. People make mistakes in life. But majority of blacks are in jails and prisons because they are committing crimes.
That's absolutely
Do you agree to that?
No, that's absolutely not true.
The fact of the matter is, Michael, is that black people commit more than half of the violent crime in this country. And even if a large chunk of those turned out to be innocent, there would still be way out of proportionality compared to whites and the other races.
That's amazing.
I'm going to explain it to you. So what they're actually done is these are the people who have been arrested and looked upon for committing crimes. For instance, with drug use, white communities and black communities to carry drugs at equal rates, and the science leads more towards white people carrying drugs more. So it matters whether you look at them or you don't look at them. For instance, I grew up carrying drugs in my pocket darn near every day, trespassing on public property to go do certain things at night when I shouldn't have. And these are the exact same things that I constantly got away with growing up in a white neighborhood and looking like this, that I actually locked people up for doing and looked at the side of the table from and realized I was putting them into that system for doing the exact same thing I did, and that couldn't be any more hypocritical.
Yeah, Michael, but one thing you probably didn't do when you was a white kid was stand on the street corner and sell drugs, and that has a lot to do with why blacks get incarcerated for drugs so much.
You do realize that most blacks can't afford attorneys or lawyers to represent them, so when they end up in jail, you have one court-appointed lawyer that has a caseload of 20 or 30 blacks on it, so they're not going to get the same service that a white person would get who can afford to buy a lawyer or hire a lawyer.
Sure,
So you realize that, right?
So you intentionally create systems.
No, answer that. You do realize that, right?
Right, so you intentionally create systems.
Now hold on just a damn minute, Michael. Didn't you just say a while ago that nobody controls the system of white supremacy?
Which will keep people poor. And when you keep people poor, you keep them fighting one another, thinking that other poor people are the problem when they're looking the wrong way. So whenever you are punching down like you're doing right now, rest assured you're being manipulated by somebody more powerful than you are.
Amazing. Are blacks suffering due to the lack of moral character and the destruction of the family, or this idea of racism?
But see, you're making claims that just...
That's a question.
But no,
that was a question.
No, it's a
Are
claim.
they suffering due to the destruction of the family, lack of moral character, or is there something else that's causing them to suffer?
You compound things, so family structure and moral character are separate issues. You understand that, right?
You haven't answered the question yet.
Right, you can't combine separate issues into one question. So, or is it because they lack moral character? Absolutely not. And an example that I can give of that with complete ease is that in Cleveland, when Tamir Rice was murdered, no cops got killed. If a cop kills my daughter, rest assured cops will get killed.
So you say no, they're not suffering due to the lack of moral character. How about the destruction of the family?
Absolutely. That's
Could
what
that be having an impact on why they're suffering?
Right. Well, see, I locked up 458 black fathers and took them away from their families. That's how they end up out.
And that's the system fault too?
Yeah, absolutely it is.
So blacks don't take any responsibility for their failures?
They don't take any responsibility.
Are you telling them that they shouldn't take any responsibility? It's always someone else?
No, absolutely not.
Then you just blame the system for locking up the black fathers.
Because things has nuance. So what I'm telling you is maybe one person out of there made a decision that wasn't directly affected by the systems and institutions which puts them into that neighborhood, which makes a cop from the county that was never arrested and is ultra privileged to go down in there and put them in a prison cell, get an overtime check for it, and the community says that that was a good thing, when we demonstrably know that it's not, because putting people in prison increases their chance of committing a crime again, because that fuels the causation. And if you keep interrupting me, I cannot do these interviews with you. You have to be professional in some aspect whatsoever and let your guests finish this. I'm correcting you for your unprofessionalism and interrupting me, and you're still trying to do it. It's amazing.
No, we're running out of time, and you go on and on and on, and I've heard this crap before. But let me ask.
Why are you so amazed if you've heard it all before?
Let me ask this. Would you justify the actions of your own children? Let's say you were married with kids. I don't know if you are. Are you married?
You should know that before we start this interview.
Are you married?
You should know that before we start.
Are you married?
Yeah.
And you have children? Mm-hmm. And so if your kids went out and did crazy things or didn't have a sense of self-control, would you correct them, or would you blame the system or someone else for them being out of control?
That's a false equivalency.
What's the answer to that? How would you correct your own children, or would you teach them to blame someone else?
It's a false equivalency, because in my house, the system is me.
Is what?
But outside of your house, the system is controlled by others.
Now hold on just a damn minute, Michael. Didn't you just say a while ago that nobody controls the system of white supremacy?
No, but what is the answer to it? Would you?
I just explained it to you with complete nuance.
So you would treat your own family better than you're treating black people, because you're giving them a way out.
Well,
and I noticed that whites like you.
How do you know my daughter or wife isn't black?
I noticed that whites like you.
How do you know my daughter or wife isn't black?
The liberal whites, the Democrats and others, They always give black people a way out by telling them that they don't have to be responsible. It's the old bad white man. It's the system. You're not responsible. And so now we have generation and generation of black people who are angry and out of control. The anger starts in the home because most of them are angry at their mothers and grandmothers. But people like you tell them it's the system, so they never get better. How do you live with yourself deceiving people in that manner?
I wonder how you live with yourself when you talk about people that you've never taken the time to get to know.
I don't know what you mean. I've been knowing black people all my life. I know black people.
You have clearly never
the ones
operated.
That I do know are black people.
You have never gone into those neighborhoods, and you never
That's
talked.
not true. I live in those neighborhoods. I work in those neighborhoods.
Okay.
For the last 27
That's
years.
fine.
So what you're saying is not true.
Wonderful. I mean, anybody that wants to investigate it is going to find out I'm correct.
No, they're going to find out you're wrong. Where did you get that information from that I don't work in the black community?
Well, I mean, if you do, you're being completely, willfully ignorant, because the words that are coming from your mouth are not the words that have come from the thousands of drug dealers that I have talked to and the communities that I've been in.
Michael, are you really going to take drug dealers' opinion on what it means to be black over Jesse's? Come on. Jesus freaking Christ, man. Did you just stereotype all blacks as criminals?
There's some shit going on with black people right now. It's like a civil war going on with black people. And there's two sides. It's black people and there's niggers. And niggers have got to go. Every time black people want to have a good time, ignorant ass niggas fuck it up.
It's amazing how you can actually think that you understand policing and the dynamics of police and a drug dealer when you've been neither police nor drug dealer, nor will have an honest conversation with either of them. That is an amazing level of ignorance.
Nice bait and switch, Michael, but the question wasn't what it's like to be a law enforcement officer or a drug dealer. The question was, what is it like to be black? And you think you know what it's like to be black more than what Jesse does. You listen to fucking drug dealers.
You didn't answer the question. Where did you get the information from that I don't work in the black community?
Because
and I don't know black
I did
people.
just explain to you. It's because of the words coming out of your mouth are expressed of those of ignorance.
But you pretend to be smarter than that, and you just said something that's not true.
That's fine that you can say it's not true. If you're there, you're not listening.
Listen to what I hear them blaming white folks and blaming the cops. Are black cops against black people as well?
I have never heard a drug dealer on the corner tell me that if it wasn't for these cops and for white people, he would be fine. Never heard that. Not once.
And you know why, right?
Why?
Because they have people like you telling them that it's not their fault, it's someone else.
Okay, this is the time when I was a conservative, and I was a Republican registered, and I was a cop, and I was white. Your hero that you think is running this country with such greatness, that's what I was. So you're telling me, you're arguing against your prototype of what an American should be.
Barack Obama, you know who he is, right?
No, I'm completely ignorant. Come on, man.
Barack Obama was in the White House for 8 years. And I write about this in my column.
You're going to do liberal again, aren't you? Here we go. Liberal, Obama, liberal, Obama, liberal, Obama. There are no sides. You argue Obama, or you argue Bush, or you argue Gore. These are all the same thing. It is about systems and institutions. That's it.
It's people like you who hate black people and see them as incapable, the men and the women, especially the men.
You keep talking about black people. I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about institutions.
You think that you are better than black people, and it's better than black men because you can take care of yourself, you can take care of your family, but the poor blacks, institutional racism is holding them back. You have no respect for black people. You are the true hater of black Americans, the people like you. If you cared about black people, you would treat them in the way you would treat your own family.
Can you tell me how you voiced outrage about Tamir Rice's
raise
murder?
your children, stop allow your kids to grow up without parents and become thugs.
Those values are held in the black community in the ghetto and by drug dealers and by everybody else. That's why I know you've never been there.
Those values are not held by drug dealers. If they were held by drug dealers, they wouldn't be drug dealers.
Drug dealers sell drugs so they can put diapers on their children.
That's a lie.
Okay.
That's
I know.
an excuse.
I have been there. I actually have been there.
But they lied to you. They told you what you wanted to hear.
They lied to me. I was the lead detective on a major case narcotics team doing the actual observations in court with video documentation. Are you calling me a liar?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe you believe what they said, but they lied to you.
I was the one saying, I do not follow. I am a leader.
What?
Do you understand the difference?
And so you're leading black people.
You are following.
Are you
these
leading
paradigms.
black Americans?
No, I'm not leading.
Who are you leading
I
of?
lead the building of frameworks so that other people have a level playing field.
Like
that's
who?
what you should do, and
Like
that's what
who?
Jesus would do.
Like who?
Everyone.
Like
everyone.
Who are you working with?
So if the black community became more powerful than the white community, I would fight just as much for a level playing field. I fight for level playing fields. You fight for the identity and to keep us fighting one another so that we can continue to allow police departments to extract resources from poor communities to fund their oppression while you support it. That's what I'm against.
That's so ridiculous.
I know it's ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
I know.
You have no respect for black Americans. And it's too
Obviously.
bad that they are in a fallen state of anger that they cannot see that people like you are using them. Let me ask, Black Lives Matter is a far left, liberal, radical, evil organization.
We're going to throw in radical now, so there we go. Liberal, radical.
What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want it now? Chanted Black Lives Matter.
That has never been chanted by a Black Lives Matter crowd, and a Black Lives Matter person has never hurt an officer, ever.
Peace in the blanket.
Ever. You made a statement.
We're going to put the chant in this video so that people know you're not an honest man.
Okay.
We
Just
have
because
it on
somebody
video.
made a chant that's black does not mean that was a Black Lives Matter activist.
We have it on video.
Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket.
Group marching at the state fair, chanting horrific things. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, they're saying.
So as a result of chanting that, there were people who went out and started killing white cops. Is that love coming from Black Lives Matter or evil?
So you make arguments for accountability, and then you say that some random video of random people led to someone else killing cops.
So you're not aware that it was Black Lives Matter?
No, it's not Black Lives Matter. You can't prove
You're
that.
not aware of that, right? We're going to put the video as a part of this interview.
Of course you will, because you'll cut it up so that it fits your
You're
agenda.
saying that it wasn't
that.
Black Lives Matter, right?
No, listen. That's
Let's
like
get you clear.
You cannot. What I'm trying to tell you is you cannot take a video and somebody says, "I'm with the fallen state," and since I'm on this show and I'm holding this mug, I'm with the falling state, and I say that Jesse Lee Peterson is completely ignorant about everything in the entire world, and he uses his imagination to fabricate things to continue to elicit white supremacy. So that must be true because I just said I'm with fallen state.
No, we're going to do better than that.
No, I'm with fallen state.
We're going to put Black Lives Matter on video in this interview so they'll see for themselves. We're going to take a brief commercial break. Back in a moment. Let me ask, does racism exist?
We need to not move past the fact that nobody from Black Lives Matter has ever injured an officer.
Okay, we got you down.
Do you accept that as a fact?
No, that's a lie. But we got you down, and we'll prove it.
Do you accept as a fact that nobody from Black Lives Matter has ever killed a cop?
I don't know if you're saying member of Black Lives Matter, but I'm telling you as a result of chanting, what do we want? Dead cops. Okay. When do we want it now?
Which shooting was that? Who was the victim cop?
No, we'll put it on tape. I need to move forward because of watch the show once it's up.
Who was the victim cop?
Let me ask, does racism exist?
Who was the victim cop?
Does racism exist?
Who was the victim cop?
You don't answer the question.
No, we're going to do this again because you can't continue to make these claims.
Right.
And
we got to prove this.
No, you're not.
You'll be a part of this.
You're going to prove it with me.
Don't worry, Michael. Don't worry about it. We have it.
But don't worry about it. Trust the imagination.
Does racism exist?
Which cop?
The ones that were killed in Texas after it happened were victims to people who hated them, and this was after they chanted, "What do we want? Dead cops."
Okay, where did they chant that?
No, you're wasting time.
I'm wasting time trying to get you now down to an actual position. I'm well aware of that. It's just more for your audience to understand that you won't stick to a position.
We're going to put the proof up there. I'm going to show them because you said it didn't exist.
No, you just said that Micah Johnson, who was the shooter, since you don't know that information, and I do off the top of my head, amazing because I actually study my subject matter, Micah Johnson expressly said that he was not Black Lives Matter and that he was doing it because of things related to him being a veteran and watching police kill people innocent.
Our hostage negotiator did an exceptional job getting this suspect to talk before he died, during the hours of negotiating that eventually broke down. And I want to share with you some of the comments from this suspect. The suspect said he was upset about Black Lives Matter. He said he was upset about the recent police shootings. The suspect said he was upset at white people. The suspect stated he wanted to kill white people, especially white officers.
Came after the chanting of what do we want?
It also came after slavery.
When do we want it now? So what I'm trying to tell you,
and it also came after
as a result of doing that, I believe they encourage angry blacks to go out, those who feel like victims, to go out.
I know what you're trying
cops.
to say, but you have no causal link. So what you're saying is really weird. So
all
also,
right, so let's move.
No,
We're
I'm
not going to
just
agree on
move
that.
on. You do that all the time.
Does racism exist?
Of course.
And define racism.
Racism is when you believe in this classification of race that's used to categorize people and separate them from humanity, and then use that categorization to treat people differently.
So racism can come from any culture. Can blacks be racist toward whites?
Not right now.
They can't be right now?
No, you can't. Again, you cannot punch up, right? So you can't, if you say brown power, and like there's an MMA fighter that has brown power on his back or brown pride or some tattoo, that's perfectly fine. You can say, do all that stuff. When you are the black, you are fighting the supremacist institution that is oppressing other people. So again, during the Ottoman Empire, if you were going black power while you were brutalizing people, you would be wrong.
So you're saying today that black people cannot be racist toward white Americans?
Not in America, no.
Right.
We gonna talk about the most racist website on the web today. Let's talk about World Star Hip Hop. So I'm actually somewhat surprised nobody has really touched on this, because it's so wide out in the open. But since nobody else wants to speak out on it, you already know I ain't got no problem doing it. I don't give a fuck who get mad. You can cry about it in the comment section like everybody else. But for those of you who go on worldstarhiphop.com, and if you don't, I don't blame you, and if you read the comments on a regular basis, there's no way you haven't noticed the massive amount of racism from black people on that site. It's on almost every single video. 90% of the comment section is nothing but racist comments from blacks towards whites, and other races too, but mostly whites. And it's not like these comments are getting a lot of downvotes. See, if they were getting a lot of downvotes, that would tell me that there's some racists on the site, but most people on there don't share the same view. But that's not the case here. These comments get a shit ton of upvotes with little to no downvotes. That is absolutely pathetic, especially when black people are the main race that's always crying about racism. And yet you motherfuckers, you're more racist than white people. You have some fucking nerve.
And so when black thugs were going around knocking out white folks, calling it a so-called knockout game, when you see them robbing and raping white people because they're white, when you see them attacking whites and doing what we have seen lately in the media, what do you call that?
Well, what I'm trying to tell you is that's where we look. So these crimes exist everywhere. Everywhere is committing crime.
Why is it that black people are not racist when they kill, rob, and rape and knock out white folks?
And Michael, if you think the knockout game is a myth, check out a documentary from Colin Flaherty called The Knockout Game. In there, he literally documents hundreds and hundreds of cases of young black youth going around and knocking out white people.
Because they're not doing it because they're white.
Why are they doing it?
They're doing it because the same reasons crimes are committed by anybody.
What's the reason?
It's a result of your environment, it is a result of your economic conditions, and a result of your marginalization from society. We know this has been demonstrated. You can find it in your Bible.
Dude, don't you think the large thug subculture within the black community that celebrates thuggery by giving people who've been to prison and who have shot and murdered someone street cred? You know, you got all the little hoodlums in the hood running around trying to keep it 100, you know? You don't think that has nothing to do with it, Michael?
Why did they ostracize people from communities?
When the few times when white people go out and kill blacks or kill a black, even just one, is that racism?
It can be. I don't know.
You don't know?
You have to give me a scenario. Like, so if a white lady kills her white husband because he was beating her, no, that's not racism. If a white wife kills her black husband because he was beating her, that's not racism. No.
Mikey, you was absolute about the blacks. But when whites
blacks, that is such a demeaning thing to say, the blacks.
When whites go out and kill or rob or rape
whites,
when whites go out and kill or rob or rape black people,
why do you do
is that racism?
When whites go out and kill black people, again, I need context because we're all humans.
You didn't need it for what I mentioned, the black on white crime. Why do you need it for the white on the black crime?
Because I already explained that to you with systems of oppression, that we are not talking about a racist act from an oppressive community cannot go up. So when a slave went and killed his slave owner, was that racist? I mean, no. It's because you're a slave in a system. It's not because he's white. If the guy would have been black in the same system, he would have killed him too. Your paradigm of skin color mattering is in your imagination.
But it isn't yours too, because you call it racism when white kill black, but when blacks attack white people, you won't call it racism.
Right. Well, I explained to you that the races were created by the colonial system of white supremacy at that time. Those races are created for this very purpose of making us do this fighting and blame one another, while that supremacist organization that right now continuing our profits. So the reason why Trump supporters are very upset about their pockets not getting any money in them when the country has a lot of money coming in is because those monies are directly funneled to the top 0.1%. We are all united against our enemy, which is the top 1%, and that is white supremacy. And please stop interrupting somebody that's an expert on a subject that you're supposedly trying to learn about.
Did you think this way prior to going to school, going to the university?
In spurts. I mean, there is no time in life where you're like, oh, I'm going to drive this way, and then suddenly I'm over here. No, everything is a gradual arc of a growing human being who evolves.
And so, but prior to going to a university, you didn't think this way. Once you went to the university, and you were taught, or you learned, however you got it, you started to believe and think this way.
You're putting...
Am I right about that?
No.
When did you think this way? You said you didn't think this way prior to
My first education in understanding the reality of the systems was listening to the words of Zach De La Rocha in Rage Against the Machine in 1993, when I first started to realize about how systems oppress people for money. So no, it started with the words of Zach De La Rocha in 1993.
And once you went to the university, did that add on to what you had already learned from this person?
No, it adds on to my education.
Right, so it did add on to your education.
Of course.
Right.
That's the point of going to school. Again, like your callers from before, would you go to the liver doctor that didn't properly get an education to deal with your medical condition?
Amazing. You say that you have empathy. You say that you have empathy for the LGBT issue.
What's the issue?
What's your empathy for the LGBT issue, and what do you think about Bruce Jenner?
What's the issue?
No, you say you have sympathy for them.
What is the
for them.
LGBT issue?
What is your, no, you're the one saying you have it, so I'm reading here. You have that for them. What do you mean by that?
I don't know what you mean by issue. What's their issue?
Well, not issue. You said issues here. Do you have empathy for the LGBT people?
Of course. I have empathy for all people.
And why do you have it for them?
Because they're people.
And what is, I mean, where's the empathy coming from? What is happening to them that's causing you to feel this way for them?
They're human beings.
And?
I feel empathy for all human beings.
All human beings?
All.
Oh, I see. So you're just
when I say all lives matter, I actually believe it. That's why I put my fist up and say Black Lives Matter too.
And what's your feeling or thought about Bruce Jenner? Now that he's gone and totally turned his...
You should call her by the name that she properly...
No, he's still a male. He just attached female body parts to him. He's a monster, but he's still a male.
Why is he still a male? Why is he still a male?
Because he was born that way.
Are you saying because...
So what's your opinion about him?
He's a human being.
How do you see his situation?
She's a human being.
You think what he has done is normal?
She is free to live her life as she chooses, which is, I'm sure, what we want in this country is people to be able to live their life as they choose.
So what would it take, what needs to happen so that Black Americans would overcome blaming and feeling like victims and being so angry and blaming someone else? What needs to happen to change Black Americans in the way that
it would be nice if we had Black media people realize that that's an entire trope that's made up and fabricated. That would be a really good start. So I suggest people with you, like Blacks like you, that have some influence, that they use that to help people instead of continuing to blame them and punch. Would you let me finish?
Help
if you're
them
going to ask
in what
me a question?
way? Help them in what way?
Help them by telling them the truth and educating through what these systems are and providing resources and fighting against white supremacy. Because the thing is it's not their problem to fight a system that the white supremacy created. It's the people with privilege who have the responsibility to change the system, not the people without resources.
How would we know when we see a white supremacist? We don't know what it looked like because you said, I asked who was controlling the system.
Just like everybody else, we judge them by their actions.
You said no one.
We judge them
so
by their
how
actions.
will we know? Because you as a white man,
did
the
Barack
average black
Obama,
person would think that you are simply because they hate white people and they think that you're one of them. How will we recognize
I'm going to answer you. You don't have to rephrase it in 18 ways. I understand our language. So was Barack Obama an executor of supremacy in this country?
I don't know what that means, so I can't answer that.
You made the argument already previously in this
The
conversation.
one thing I can say is that Barack Obama divided the races more than any other person in the history.
He couldn't have possibly divided them more than the people that
created.
That's
why he went down in history, he's gone down in history as the worst president that this country has ever experienced.
Okay, so would all those things be bad for this country? Did they make money go more towards the top 1%?
No.
That's demonstrably true that they did. So,
not true.
Okay.
Barack divided in country only made the money go to him and Big Mama. Let me ask, did you have fun?
Did you just say all the money only went to Obama
Barack
Big
Obama
Mama?
divided the races so that he could do, listen.
Who's Big Mama?
Michelle, you know, his
wife. You
wife.
are so unbelievably disrespectful as a human being. Like, I don't know how you look at yourself in the
So
mirror.
you blame white people for the problem of black folks, and I'm disrespectful?
No, I don't blame white people.
You got
Again,
it all
we said
wrong.
institutions.
You got it all wrong.
It's not.
But let me ask.
No, I did not have fun because it's not humorous.
You didn't have fun?
This. No, it's not humorous.
I had a great time. I appreciate you coming on.
It's sad.
You did not have fun?
No.
Oh, man.
I feel sorry. Like,
you do?
If you really believe this.
You feel sorry for this poor black man?
I do.